Welcome to the TIF podcast. This is episode 9 with your host TC. So this is week 30 of the Premier League, and we'll be reviewing some of the key results within the particular week 30 of this week within the Premier League. So let's just start off with Arsenal Man United, as that game took place today. Of course, a lot of people were expecting Arsenal to drop the points in this particular game. Of course, they came out trumps. They came out on top of Man United. Wasn't the prettiest of victories, of course, by Arsenal, but they managed to drag the 3 points out of Man United at home. Usually Man United come to Arsenal or to the Emirates and they'll obtain the 3 points typically, but not on this occasion. So the scorers on the day were Granit Xhaka with a long-range drive, which David De Gea completely misjudged, as well as Aubameyang was awarded a penalty after Lacazette was taken down in the box by Fred. So of course, as mentioned, not a vintage Arsenal performance, but the most important thing for them really moving forward is the fact that they obtained the 3 points. In terms of the top 4 race, this makes it extremely interesting. So that result leaves Man United in 5th. Chelsea also dropped points. They dropped 2 whole points today, and they ended up, well, they do have a game in hand, as we all know, so it leaves them in 6th position. However, Arsenal do have a greater goal difference than Chelsea, so even if they do play and win their game in hand, Chelsea will certainly be sitting in 5th behind Man United. So of course we know that there's 8 games to go, and it's going to be an extremely tight run into the end of the season. The next game to discuss really here will be Liverpool-Burnley. So Liverpool ended up winning 4-2. I was anticipating a win by Liverpool. So of course the 2 goal scorers for them were Mane as well as Roberto Firmino, who's been out of sorts recently. But however, they ended up scoring the 4 goals. I didn't really see the match, I haven't watched the match, but it looks like a comprehensive win by Liverpool, and obviously it leaves Burnley near the bottom of the table. They're currently sitting 17th, so they're 2 points clear of that relegation spot. Makes it an extremely difficult running for them as well, but everyone else around them, bar Brighton, have played, so it's an extremely tight end to the season. They are down there with the likes of Southampton, Brighton, Crystal Palace, so anyone within that region can certainly get dragged back into the relegation zone. So the next fixture really that we'll be talking about that took place today on Sunday the 10th of March will be Chelsea-Wolverhampton. Of course, as mentioned, Chelsea ended up getting a last minute equaliser courtesy of Eden Hazard. It was in the 2nd minute of injury time at the end of the game. Wolverhampton had been in control, which is highly unlikely when Chelsea are playing at home, but they had been in control. Scored in the 56th minute courtesy of Jimenez, and he's been absolutely superb this season, Jimenez. But the goal scorer for Chelsea in the last minute was Eden Hazard. It was a cold shot into the bottom corner, and the keeper stood no chance, and Chelsea found themselves at 1-0 on the day. So great result for them, really. Would have been even better for them if they had obtained the full 3 points on this occasion for their challenge for the top 4, but weren't able to do so. So I do believe if Chelsea fail to get into the Champions League this season, Maurizio Sarri will be waving goodbye to Stamford Bridge. But of course, these things do happen, and let's just run through some of the key fixtures yesterday that took place on the 9th of March. Just before we do so, we're just going to take a quick break, and we'll be back after this ad break. So, I love creating content in general. As you may all know, I've recently started this TIF podcast. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from a podcast? Which is one of the key questions people tend to ask themselves before they take the plunge to actually starting a podcast. The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and it's ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this. Basically, I love using Anchor. It's an extremely easy app to use. First of all you need to do is just download the app either on iOS or Android. I personally use it on Android. Register, which takes literally less than 1 minute. Once you've registered, you are ready to go. All you need to do is set up your profile and hit the record button. You've got multiple resources available to you in the form of background music, jingles, etc. You name it. So if you always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Welcome back to the TIF podcast. It's your boy TC, and we're back from the break. And basically, one of the key fixtures we need to discuss would be the Everton-Newcastle match. So Everton were 2-0 up. Early goals for them, courtesy of Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison in the 18th and 32nd minute respectively. However, from the 65th minute, Newcastle started to turn it around, courtesy of Solomon Rondon, who's their top scorer this season. I do believe he's now in double figures. And Jose Perez, who's one of Newcastle's longest serving team members, scored in the space of 3 minutes. So he scored 2 goals in the space of 3 minutes to bring the score to 3-2. So enough praise to Rafa Benitez on this podcast, continuously giving Rafa Benitez praise. But that was one of the standout results. Miguel Almiron also again had a fantastic game. He is obviously proving to be worth the money. Another key fixture we need to speak about will be Southampton-Tottenham. Southampton ended up winning 2-1. So Tottenham were about 10 points clear of Arsenal in fourth a few weeks back. Now they're sitting only a point. Even though their captain has come back from injury, they have been struggling to get results, really. Harry Kane is getting the scores, or getting the goals, I should say, my apologies. However, they are still struggling to obtain results. Great result for Southampton. Valerie and Ward-Prowse on the day got on the score sheet to improve their chances of relegation. And the final fixture I just want to feature within this particular episode, as this is just a quick episode, will be Man City-Watford. Sterling was absolutely outstanding, got himself a very quick hat-trick. So I believe he got his hat-trick within about 12 minutes or so, and he obviously pushed on that particular title challenge for Man City, but he was absolutely outstanding. But Watford, let's not take away anything from them. Within the first half, they had done a fantastic job. Game went into the first half, or into the halftime period, at 0-0, but they managed to end up losing the game. However, great result for Man City. So let's just look at the table and the standings in the league. So Man City are top with 74 points, Liverpool second with 73, Tottenham in third with 61 points, Arsenal lie a point behind them with 60 points, sitting in fourth. Man United in fifth with 58 points, and Chelsea sit in sixth with 57 points. In the relegation, so the 18th team is Cardiff, 2 points away from safety. Above them is Burnley with 30 points. Fulham sitting in 19th with 17 points. Huddersfield in 20th at the bottom of the league with 14 points with 8 games to go. So I believe the bottom 2 teams are essentially relegated now. But thank you so much for listening. If you are listening to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to, please do make sure that you leave us a review and make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. It's your boy TC. Thank you so much for listening to the Topic is Football podcast, and I'm out.